In plant breeding, funding, like we're seeing a shift in plant breeding, and part of this, I truly believe, is first of all there was an awareness, but one of the things the National Association of Plant Breeding has done, or the Plant Breeding Coordinating Committee, is really started making people aware that we need this funding, and the government has responded. We're seeing more, at least at the USDA level, we're seeing the word plant breeding coming into grants more often. It's integrated in the specialty. We have a specialty crops grant, so breeding of basically non-core crops like corn and soybeans and wheat and things like that. And plant breeding is definitely a focus. So we're seeing that in funding. But the other main thing that's happening for graduate students, which is actually of course the most expensive thing, is the companies really have come forward and said, you know, we need plant breeders. Most of plant breeding is private, by the way, in the United States. About 2/3 to 3/4 of plant breeders are in the private industry. It's probably more like 3/4, really. And there's over $20 million that have been donated from major seed companies to key universities in fellowships for PhD plant breeding grants, for plant breeding, essentially. And that's really, you're starting to see a lot more students. Even, for example, at this convention, we have 70 graduate students out of 200 attendees, and we're seeing core groups of graduate students, from 20 to 50 at universities. When even 5 years ago, that I would have, it was more like 10 to 20. So it's definitely making an immediate impact. So I think we're going to see, there's going to be new plant breeders coming out there. That's the people, which is expensive, but we need to fund also the public plant breeding programs to make sure we can continue with that. So public breeding, you can fund graduate students, but if the breeding programs aren't there in the universities to get the practical experience, you won't have anybody to train them in the future. So it's twofold. You need to fund both levels.